Hello, everyone.
Hey, Helia. I think we can go ahead and get started. One moment. Okay. Let's see. So, I've made a good amount of changes this time. Oh, it's not sharing actually. Um, okay. So, well, let me just start back down here. So I started, kind of rewording everything in the link control protocol just to make it more readable. We don't need to go through all the exact wording changes. They're functionally mostly the same. Um, but I ran across a number of little issues and I changed some formatting and moved some things around as I kind of got to them. Moved some things back up into the earlier part of the document. All right, so let's just kind of go through some of the comments that I ran into. Okay, so I found this comment here. As with the BOW, this is talking about the link side. As with the BOW sideband, interface logic needs only to support one link request at a time from each side. Does this mean outstanding requests, like in terms of like bus transactions? 'Cause I assume Boppy wrote this line. And we say that in terms of bus transactions, we say this like a bunch of different times in the doc. So, so if that's what it is, I'm just going to delete the line because it's not it's just redundant. But if it means something else and I'm not getting it, then I wanted to double check with everybody.
Yeah, sorry, Brian. I don't know what that means.
Okay. I'll wait for ROM before I delete it, but I'm going to assume that we don't need it because I can't imagine what it's talking about unless it is just another way of saying bus transaction. Let's move on. Okay. So I did reword a lot of this in order to just make it a little bit more readable and maintain the terminology. There was especially this section kind of because it was a little bit older and hadn't been touched in a while, uh, mixed and matched some of the terminology. And so I did kind of change everything. I think it's all on there. Because we say link a lot and then, but there's actually a main band and a side band and there's a couple other little terminology things that are kind of all over the place. So I tried to clean it up as much as possible. Again, I encourage everybody to read this and make sure that what I'm saying is functionally correct after I changed everything. Um,
Do you want to back up? Rom just joined. Do you want to back up and
Oh, hey Rom. So I ran into this statement
Hey, Brian.
when doing the editing of the link side of the document. The statement is, I assume it's originally from Boppy. The statement is, as with the BOW sideband, interface control logic needs to only support one link request at a time from each side. Is that referring to just bus transactions? Or is that referring to like in terms of like outstanding bus transactions? Or is it referring to something else deeper that
Uh,
I'm missing?
yeah, I believe it is the number of outstanding. So we agreed that we'll keep the sidebar interface simple at the time, and we agreed that we will only do one transaction at a time.
Okay.
But then at that, yeah, and then at that time we didn't have a good mechanism in place to make sure that this is robust. So I think we have added that now. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
I
yeah,
believe that's what it is.
okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something deeper because I think we say the bus transaction thing 5 different ways throughout the document. So I'm gonna go ahead and just strike that because it's kind of extraneous, I think, at this point. So, but I wanted to make sure it wasn't stating something else about the functionality that I was missing. Or I'll reword it just so it's more explicit. Okay. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Okay, yeah. All right. So we do talk a lot about tests, and we talk about how test patterns are loaded and things like that. But we some of the things are not necessarily clear to me where they're documented and whether we should get those be a little more specific, or we should double check that what we think is being covered other places is actually being covered other places. Um, let's see. Okay, so the first one was this document specifies how the tests listed above are applied. Uh, so again, this is I get a statement from Boppy originally, I think. I'm not sure which tests he's talking about. I mean, there is obviously test patterns. So I guess that if that's if that's the only thing that one test pattern, then one test pattern comment, then I guess that makes sense. Um, these things right here, basically the above statement right here. But I don't see any other things about tests except for like this section really. So I didn't know if there was something else that I'm missing that was supposed to be documented on testing.
Yeah, again, sorry, I'm going to be no help there this time either.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, I believe I think we agreed that we will add PRBS generators for per lane and per link testing. But yeah, I think I don't think the discussion went too far from there. Other than saying that there will be a PRBS check engine on either side. But and then the only catch here is PRBS engines can be designed in several ways. So yeah, if we are looking for interoperability between two different vendors, then we'll probably have to um, um, define this more clearly as to how two different vendors can bring in their dies together and test this interface out.
I mean, we kind of we mentioned that here. Um, I'm not sure. I actually don't know if more information is needed here because that seems a little light. But regardless, I wanted to make so okay. So again, this statement implies that there's another section. I guess is my point. So I want to make sure that we're not that there's not something else that I'm missing. All right, so I'm gonna again strike that. Oh,
It would also help to see if something on the same lines is included in the FI spec. Because even the FI, we were thinking of putting PRBS engines in the FI spec as well. So I don't know if there was some text in the FI spec that went in.
I honestly don't know. And I haven't actually reviewed. So we do mention that the TLP specification lists patterns and stuff like that, and I haven't actually looked at that either. So, um, I do have another note somewhere else because we do mention that again in one of the other tables, and I didn't know if we needed to be more explicit about where in those specs these things are meant to be. These things are located. But that's fine. Um, okay. Anyway, I think we can cover what other specs can. Oh, anyway, do we need to add anything to our spec? Is I guess the real question here. I completely agree. Some of these things should be put in those other specs. Actually, are we are we changing? Does this statement actually changing the BOW main band requirements? I didn't even think about that. Like if that's not in the BOW main spec, is that changing requirements for interoperability for the main band?
It certainly seems like it to me, right? I mean, both of those things, right? Like the 1 kilobit per slice data pattern, right? I mean, that's a huge, I mean, that requires a 1 kilobit memory in both the transmitter and the receiver.
Not really. I think that is the advantage of having a PRBS engine. So
I'm talking about A.
PRBS
I'm,
is
I'm talking about A.
oh, A, okay. Single, yeah, A would require, yes. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I think the implementations that I have worked on, we don't have any memories in the design, and we solely rely either on the PRBS engines, or we rely on a pattern, but that pattern is not one kilobit. It is much smaller than that.
Yeah, I mean, the paragraph above says it's 16 bits, right? I'm just
Yeah.
like I think you're right, Brian, that that whole paragraph there is implying things onto the phi that I don't think we really want to imply. I don't think anybody's going to put 1,000 bits of pattern memory just for each lane. Um,
Yeah. Do we need to?
that-
Okay. All right. What do you guys think we need to do here? Is this something that we should be not putting in this spec at all? Or do we need to make this wording softer? Uh,
I mean, this is the first time, right? So this spec, right? Our thing, right, is saying that above and beyond what's written everywhere else, we're not requiring, but we're recommending these two new things, right? That seem to be new, right? And certainly A is new to me. Um, whereas B, again, that's like pushing stuff into the phi that, again, if it needs to be pushed in the phi, it should be again talked about there, I think.
specific pattern. Yeah. So, okay. It sounds like the first paragraph is okay. This second paragraph is not okay.
Yeah, I certainly have problems with that.
Yeah, and then the reason why I feel some of this would probably be also in the 5 spec is because some of these patterns are required for RX calibration. So I'm not sure if some of this is already covered in the 5 spec.
Right. And as you mentioned, Brian, right, that's whatever B says is just way insufficient to actually implement anything that will interoperate. There needs to be a lot more details about what you mean by
Yeah.
that.
I'm not even sure we have enough controls to do what we're even saying here. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna so let's just strike that for now. Maybe we'll follow up as the again, this is I hate to say this, but this is not our problem. The BOW spec should be putting these kinds of things in if they want to standardize testing like this. We're just trying to give controls to it, right? So I
Yeah,
would
I'm
vote
in complete agreement.
just
Yeah,
strike
yeah.
that whole section right there. So the question is let's see for calibration. This is all true, right? There's no problem saying that with the current spec with the current BOW spec as is, right?
Do you know that for sure? Is that what
No, I
is?
don't actually. This is a question to the audience.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I don't know that the BOW spec I assume it's speaking about the PHY
Right.
specification.
I'm going to add a note to myself here to double check this.
And then again, do you know what it means when it says BOW specification? Do you know which of the various things it's talking about? Because
I
isn't
assume it
this
means the PHY spec.
right? I'm just saying we should better word that, I think, because isn't this a BOW specification, the thing we're talking about?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we do say this other places, and it's always mentioning the PHY spec. So I can make that more clear. And I think when I'm going to go through and add a bibliography last thing, and then go through and cite everything that mentions another document. But I've been procrastinating that one because that's the most tedious. Let's see. And then I'm going to double check this as well. Just put like maybe put a section or something. Okay. Again, nobody has any problems with me deleting this part at least, right?
I do not.
All right. Okay, now on to something that's let's see, a little bit bigger of a change. Let's see. No, where did that go? Yeah, all right. Um, so we had this a table before, and we had talked about long back and forth, about um, separating these out for better clarity. And so when I started looking at, what can I do to make this more clear, I realized that, again, this whole section is talking about the link control protocol, which is really just the registers for controlling the main band link. And all of these local registers have nothing to do with the link control protocol. They're all about the sideband protocol, right? So I actually took all the local registers and moved them back up to where they're actually being described up here. So instead, I have a table here talking about the addresses and the list of the um, sideband registers right before we talk about the actual fields of the sideband registers, which seemed a little more location appropriate. I do realize we're kind of splitting the address map, but this is um they're technically not in the same, they're not necessarily in the same address space anyway, where it's just convenient for some implementations to do that. So I'm not sure it really matters, but regardless, um, it seemed more appropriate to put those registers up here. Um,
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Is it really true though that that last address has a name of two?
that was what was in the doc in there. I don't know what that means technically. It also doesn't. Okay, actually, there's another note in this one too, because we have this thing called the local error code, which we've kind of discussed at length. That it's really just the local sideband error code for fetching, error codes from error packets and things like that. But the name actually says link ID, and so in the table as it was, so that seemed wrong. It probably just should be because it's only relative to the sideband link, so it should probably be the sideband ID. So um
Yeah, I agree with that too.
and so if you do that, the name turns into three,
Okay.
the quote unquote name. Does does that make sense to you, Brom? Shouldn't that be sideband ID?
Can you repeat the question, please?
So local error code is only relative to the sideband link. Yet the instance ID that we do in the addressing is the link ID, which didn't make sense to me. So it probably should be since it's the local error, since it's the error for the sideband itself, it should probably be a sideband ID, right? I think this is an artifact of us changing what errors mean several
Yes, I believe so. Yes, I
several
think you're
different
right.
times.
Yeah, I
All
think you're
right.
right.
So I think I'm going to go ahead and just change this to SBID so that it's a little more, and then to fix
But
policy.
at some
So
point we also decided we were discussing whether the SBID is even required. So I don't recall if we decided to keep it or remove it.
um, well, again, these are local addresses, right? So if you have multiple sidebands, then you need multiple. So I think in this case that makes sense because these are local address space registers.
Right.
And
I mean, what I'm meant to say is, since there are multiple sideband, each sideband interface will have its own CSR space or CSR sections,
sure, right.
and the ID can be implicitly derived based on what CSR region you're accessing. So
You
you
know
don't
what,
really,
that's a good point too. We should probably just
I mean, you don't really
give
need
these in.
a need to specify that in. I mean, it's okay to give extra information, but I feel that's a redundant information.
That is true. So maybe we should just make these just offsets from a bar or whatever, or what or base address, and leave it there. Let me I'll come back on that. And we can I'll come up with another table real quick later, and then we can make a decision next meeting whether um we want to include those variables or not. Similarly, the table got changed down here too. Uh, so one thing here on the names, it says the TLP spec defines the name of the register. I didn't know what this actually meant. Do you guys remember what this means?
Um, I'm not certain, but I think what that means is that it's talking about a register that's in the link layer. It's not a register in the sideband. Let's move to the PHY. That's easier to talk about, right? So you can address any register inside the PHY proper, the main band part of the PHY, right, by giving it that address. And then the name or the registry you actually want to access is described somewhere else, right? We don't know what the registers are inside the PHY.
Okay.
Does that make sense for the PHY?
Yeah,
And so
I see what you're saying. So, but isn't that implementation rather than spec?
yeah, that's right. That's a better way to say that because yeah, we don't specify the CSRs at all in the PHY, right? That's an implementation dependent thing. So yes, I mean that's a good point too. But I think all three of those lines are simply saying that there are registers that you're allowed to access via the sideband that this specification doesn't talk about. And he's
Right.
trying to point you to the right place, right? And it's like, you're right, that's wrong. It's not going to be in the BOW spec.
Okay. So what should we say here? Should we just say this is implementation dependent then? Because I don't know. I'm not sure because you're just like you said, it's not in the spec. So what we're saying is actually wrong here.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree. It
so,
needs to be.
so, so, Paul, do you know what you mean by in the under name you have 0x0 and 0x1? So those are the addresses, right? That we are recommending that these registers be placed at all for all vendor implementations. Is that right?
I believe so. Yes, that's really the address. The name is, I think, a bad term there, but it's like that portion of the address space has to be 0 to access the PMR. Right?
Right.
We're sticking, we're defining that portion of the address space, right? And it's, it's completely defined there.
Right. Then I think then I agree with you guys that the for the linked data and the one where it says TLP spec or BOW spec, I think it should probably be vendor implementation. Either that or we take a call to put all of these at a known address location for all vendor implementations.
Right, but it's more than that, right? It's like the PHY is like not just one address or one register, right? It's a whole pile of them, right? Same thing for the link guys. I mean, there's a whole pile of registers that you should be able to access, right? And so
Correct.
so name isn't really the address. It's like just saying you got to go somewhere else to find that address map. But I think Brian's point's right. It's like that you don't go to the BOW spec to find that address map. You got to go somewhere else. So I'm with you, Ram, that it should be implementation. And I'm sorry, as I said in the comments, I need to bug out to go to another meeting now. Apologize for that.
Yeah, no worries, Paul.
Okay, see you
Let
guys
me.
next week.
Bye.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Bye.
No, okay. All right. Take care. Have fun. Bye.
So I'll go ahead and try and actually so Rom, are you going to have more than one link data register and link interface register
Yeah, I'm trying to
per ID?
recall what that link data and link interface is actually. So I'm drawing a blank on what that is. Link state, I understand. I think we agreed to have a link state register to reflect at what point in the link bring up each side is in. I'm trying to recall what the data and the interface ones meant. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, yeah, I mean that it could go into I mean different vendors can put those in different locations potentially. And yeah, I mean they will provide APIs to read out these registers, so the actual location would probably get obfuscated anyways.
But we don't. Okay. So we use PMR, we use link state. We don't actually use any of these in our spec,
That
right?
is correct. That is correct. I think WAPI put these just to give a standard view for all implementations. But again, calling it as TLP spec or BOW spec actually goes against that requirement, right? Because then vendors are free to choose to put these wherever they want. So I'm not sure if we should even um, have these here. But the table does call out as mandated register address map, so I'm not
Yeah.
really sure. So I mean, I would prefer if we can give addresses to all of these and say all implementations should follow the same mechanism. Like for example, like Paul just mentioned that Phi could have a bunch of registers based on the implementation. So that Phi would probably be defined as a range, but we can always say, okay, from a Phi perspective, each vendor could have their own implementation, but at overall address map, they should put all of their registers under this region. So something on that lines.
Yeah. Maybe I should. Okay. I'll either add a note saying that those registers I've highlighted are not utilized in this specification. Okay. All right. Here, say.
And I believe when you call out as TLP spec, that would be this spec, right?
I assume that
The
was the translation link layer, which is the other. Well, oh yeah. So it will eventually be this spec.
right,
Yes.
because we are eventually going to move all of these sections in the link
Yeah.
spec anyways. So I think that would probably be. I don't know if we should call it out as a TLP spec because it kind of gives an impression that it's a different spec that we need to go refer.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and still treat it as a separate document until we do actually do the merge, so we can do other reviews and people not get confused, I think. Scissors are utilized in this specification, in this spec, are for maybe it's possible future usage or general scenarios. Does that make sense? Or should I say it's for something else too? All right. Say these registers are not utilized in this and for possible future. Yeah. Do you think it makes sense to break this out into a separate table? Break those out in the separate table and say optional? And actually, we don't actually define these, what link data interface. I mean, FIs have registers, obviously, but like, link data interface, like you said, we don't actually define those. So maybe I shouldn't call those specific registers and then say link data access registers, implying there's potentially multiple registers and link interface. I don't know. I guess.
I think, Brian, we should probably leave it here. I'm not in front of my desk right now, but I can go check in the link document if there is any link data register in that document.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna add a note for now and not actually do anything. And we can talk about these later. So if you can take a look on your side and see if that makes sense. And then I'll go ahead and tag you too, just so you have a chance, you remember to take a look when you get a chance.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you.
I'm not in Google Docs. I'll tag you later on Google Docs. All right. Okay. I think the rest of it was just formatting stuff. That was the big stuff right there. So really the stuff that if you get a chance, Ron, to take a look at, and Helia, and everybody else, Boone. Oh, I see. We got other people too. I'm sorry. How do I say your name? Is it Itai?
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Yes, my name is Itai. Yes,
Hi, Itai.
Itai.
Yeah. So
Mm,
if
Nice
you
to meet
guys,
you.
which company are you from again?
I'm from a company based in Israel, from GSOC Solutions.
Oh, okay.
So
Great. Welcome.
thank you. I'm a free listener since I'm not a member of the OCP, but these meetings are free, are open, so I'm joining them. Shortly about my company. So I'm the CEO and owner. We are providing a front-end development service, and we develop a SOC platform, and it's become very interesting to us, the integration of chiplets. So that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Yeah. So,
So
I guess for everybody,
mm,
again, if we can try and review this document offline, so we can get a little more people have a
can
little more
can you
opinions.
send where I get this? I get at the end of the meeting there is an automatic mail with a link to the folders, but if you can send maybe in the chat here, so specify where is the document located, so I can be sure I'm looking at the correct one.
Yeah, I don't know what we do in terms of open people that are joining,
Mhm.
because I don't know if the Google Drives are open for everybody, or if it's just OCP members.
They are open because I receive a mail with, I think I receive a mail with a link to the Google Drive, and I'm able to get in and look at the documents. So
okay, so this
so
is
far.
just this is in the this is in the folder. Oh, let me. Well, it's not.
Hmm.
The one I'm working on will be updated after the end of this meeting. But
Mm-hmm.
sorry, 1 second. I'll show it to you. Yeah, it's in the work in progress folder under actually, do we? No, I don't know. This is the only I know.
Mm-hmm.
It's under the work in
Oh,
progress. It's called control path spec. So
control path spec. Okay. Oh,
yeah.
great. I think I see this
So
folder. Just didn't know in which document exactly to look.
yeah. And so
Mm-hmm.
so this is fortunately, it's an uploaded Word document nowadays because of lack of formatting controls in Google Docs.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys can see the changes that I'm doing here and everything and download it and whatnot. So if you guys have comments, at this point, it's probably better for you guys to let me know rather than leaving comments in on the document because I can't always see the comments in the document.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you leave comments, please let me know in the meetings,
Okay.
or via email.
What is your email? Can you
It's
share it? Or?
brian.murray@verisilicon.com.
And that Murray. Verisilicon.com. Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Okay. I think that's it for today. You guys have anything else you want to bring up before we end the call?
I have a question. So the task now is updating the spec for the link layer. That's the
Yeah,
that's the current
I
task.
think we're basically functionally complete, or we have been for a month or so. And that we're primarily going through and reformatting things and making sure that there's no missing items before we go to review. And so I think today we found found a few more things than we probably
Mm-hmm.
planned from previous discussions, right? But that's our primary task right now.
So the document is going to get approved soon, right? That's the
Well, no.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I think what we need to do is we're going to generate a separate document that we're working on, like standalone right here, that will be. I'd like to see a wider review of in OCP.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure everybody's got eyes on it. Nobody objects to anything on any of the content that we're doing, and then we'll do a merge with the transaction link layer spec, because we're not making necessarily a new document. This will be a new version of that spec
Mm-hmm.
as a new chapter or appendix or whatever. I haven't figured that quite out yet. So there's probably there's quite a number of formatting things that need to be done in order to do the merge, and then that will probably be the thing we actually vote on standardizing.
So there is a control path spec and there is a transaction. How do you call it? The transaction.
Yeah, transaction and link layer spec. So the transaction link layer spec is a packetization protocol over the BOW
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been public for a year or so or more. I'm not sure exactly when we released it actually. But it goes along with the BOW PHY spec, to define a chiplet
Yes.
interface, right? And then there's a variety of side specs like bus protocols, like how do you map AXI to the transaction link layer spec? That's a profile.
So where can I actually those? So where can I see this spec? The
Yeah, though they're already published, so you can just Google that and
Okay.
it's available on the website.
Okay, so it's the transaction link layer and the other one to connect to the XI. How do you call it?
Those are interface profiles.
Interface profile.
I'm
Okay.
not 100% sure where those are published along. They were supposed to be published alongside the transaction link layer spec, but I'm not 100% sure where those are in the tree.
I see. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll investigate.
I was actually going to comment on that. I think last week we had some discussions on what version is the right version, and I believe Helia sent out an email to Anu and Elad on those lines.
Yeah.
Maybe I might have gotten confused with the FI spec versus the link spec. I'm pretty sure that the FI spec has moved on to 2.1, but I don't know where to find that 2.1 spec. But yeah, I think what Anu and Elad confirmed is there is no new link layer spec, and it is still at 1.0. So that's
Yep.
what they confirmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the transaction link layer spec is the FI spec?
No.
Mm.
Okay. So there's a FI spec. It's a
Mhm.
totally separate spec. And Ron was saying that it had actually revved up versions that we may need to discuss getting access to.
I see.
Because the public one is 2 and there may be a 2.1 or something like that.
Oh, okay,
And
I see.
and so, but their transaction links layer spec is still at 1.0, and that there was some confusion in the last meeting about it possibly having a 1.1 rev.
I see. Okay, great. Thank you.
Anything else, guys, that we need to cover this meeting?
None from my side.
Oh, Ram, can you please provide a response to that email thread?
Yes, I will do that. I know I'm yeah, it's pending on my inbox. I'll do that.
Thank you.
And then I'll update the version of this document online that has some of these comments on, so you guys can see. All right. Well, thanks everybody.
See you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.